Lowery, he may be one of the best June players in the history of Texas baseball. I'm talking about UT baseball and high school baseball. David Denny is amazing, isn't he?
He's great, and he is one of the all-time. We're good friends, and I give him a hard time, and he gives me a hard time, but he truly is one of the great hitters in UT history and has become one of the great high school coaches in the state in baseball.
Yeah, 4 straight trips to the College World Series as a player, and I've lost track of how many trips you've made to the state tournament in baseball as a head baseball coach. David.
I've been 3 times.
3?
Twice, been 3 times.
Amazing.
But it feels like it's more, doesn't it? It kind of feels like you've been 5 or 6
2 different schools. Been to a couple of regional finals, been to several regional semis, 3 times, though, in Round Rock, and got one twice.
Tell me the difference between nerve-wise between being a player in Omaha and being a head coach in the state tournament.
As a player, you kind of control yourself. So that's not that was a lot easier for me. I think as a coach, you're trying to control everybody, and when you have no control, you get a little bit more amped up, and you get a little bit more. I worry more about what everybody else is trying to do. As a player, I think I knew anything that was thrown at me, I could handle. It wasn't always successful, but I could handle it mentally when it was over with.
Yeah.
And as a coach, you feel the impact that you're putting on these guys and the responsibility you're giving these guys, and when they fail, you fail. Of course, when they succeed, you succeed too. But I'm gonna get a lot more amped up, a lot tighter as a coach than I ever did as a player.
Really? If we looked at video of you from 82 through 85, could you tell a difference? If I said, oh yeah, that's David Denny, 82. I was so raw as a freshman. I was so nervous. Oh, it's 85. That was no problem at all. I mean, can you tell a difference between how you carried yourself and how you played?
Sure. I can remember my very first at bat at Texas. I believe it was our opening game. So it'd be probably early February of 1982. And my left knee was shaking. We had 1,000 at-bats probably in the fall and in January, hitting off with Roger Clemens and Mike Capel and Calvin Schiraldi and Kurt Killingsworth and guys like that. But I go to the plate my very first at-bat, and my left leg was shaking. And I had to step out. What's going on here? And it was against somebody that wasn't very good.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask. Who was it? Who were you playing?
I don't even remember, to be honest. Probably, somebody Emporia State or somebody like that. Yeah. But the good part about it is I hit a double my very first at bat, and then you fast forward. I was skinny and 175 pounds and scared to death, and you fast forward, and I got a little calmer as the years went, a little smarter as the years went. I still had my struggles, but they just weren't quite as often. I came in pretty hot. I hit over 400 right at 400 my freshman year with about 100 at bats.
Yeah,
and I struggled a little bit my sophomore year, and then started rolling my junior and senior year. Slowly started figuring it out. So yeah, the growth from 82 to 85 was physically and mentally both was pretty large.
That first game in 82, by the way, was against Midwestern. 12-0 was the final.
Yeah.
Did you feel like, because we had this talk with Ty yesterday, we were previewing the regionals, that your maturity as a hitter, there was a big jump? I mean, it's going to be obviously the answer is yes, but how big was that jump from your freshman year to like your junior year? And you had the rough patch your sophomore year. Was it just because you had a down year, or do you think you still needed some growth in there? How did that evolve?
I needed growth. I got hurt at the end of my freshman year. Sophomore year actually got hurt at the end of I was hurt at the end of my freshman year, played through it. At the end of my sophomore year, I was hurt too, both arm issues and shoulder issues. But the growth, man, I wish I could come out. The growth that happened, the failure, I guess, that happened. I hit 6th probably my freshman and sophomore year, and I don't have a good answer for that one, but the growth, the growing from failure, the growing from listening to Cliff every day and Bill Bethay every day and Clint Thomas every day and being around the good players that surrounded me, you're forced to get better. And my numbers may not have shown it my sophomore year, but I definitely improved.
Do you think you developed a game plan? Well, you and I always talk about that. I like to hunt the fastball. I didn't swing at anything spinning funny until I got 2 strikes. I know Troy's taking that approach with the guys at Texas this year. Did you think your game plan evolved and matured, simplified over that course in between that freshman and junior year?
Oh, most definitely. The more pitches you see, the more at-bats you get, the more you try to understand. And I don't know how much pitchers and how they attacked us back in those days. I know the analytics wasn't there that is now, but you still learn from all that. And you learn just like even today, where are guys going? They're going away from you. As my junior and senior year, I forgot how to hit a fastball because I never saw one. So I would just sit back and look off speed, and was just as successful, if not even more, my junior and senior year because I had basically eliminated. I might see one fastball in at bat.
Wow.
And again, hitting in that lineup with Bill Bates and Kobe Curlin and Doug Hodo and Dennis Cook and Rusty Richards on bases, they didn't throw me a whole lot of fastballs. So and it didn't bother me. I could hit the curveball as good as anybody. And I could hit that oppo gap and that turf as fast as it was back in those days. If you could get the ball on the ground and in between the 5-6 hole or the 3-4 hole, then you were doing just fine, and you were usually going to get you an RBI out of it. But the growth, becomes my growth was more than that I still use today. I guess is just trying to figure out what pitchers are doing to you, and.
Do you relay that? Do you try to, with each of your hitters, individual hitters, you've had so much success at the high school level as an overall manager, but when you're going over hitting with them and watching them evolve and develop, do you try to find a game plan that works for that particular kid?
You do. You find a game plan because high school kids can't always do what you ask them to do. They're not all going to swing like Mike Trout. They're not all going to swing like Seager or somebody like that. So with being lefty or righty. So what you have to do is you teach them to be the best they can be, and then at the same time you are you're teaching them how to work counts. What am I doing 0-0? What am I doing 1-0? What am I doing 0-1? What am I doing 2-0 and 3-0? And you try to educate them as much as they can, as you can, as to how to deal with those counts. Where are the runners? What's the situation of the game? We try to bunt the ball as much as we can. A lot of these guys, believe it or not, in high school these days, they can't bunt. So you have to do it and do it and do it again and understand the importance of it. We go first and third with 1 out or nobody out, and I got a bad hitter at the plate. If he can't bunt the ball to first, there's a good chance I'm going to put somebody in for him to bunt. So just the situational awareness of the counts and where the runners are and how am I feeling that day. We have about 3 different swings. There's sometimes, as you know, David, that you can go up there and the ball's huge. And you can swing with your eyes closed, and you can let it fly a little bit front side. You can fall a little bit, be off balance, and your barrel is going to find the ball.
Right.
And then there's other times where you go out there, man, I'm not feeling good today. And you have to be able to adjust and figure that out pretty quick. You got a guy throwing 95. Not that we see 95 very often, but you got a guy throwing 95 in high school. You better go to a 2-strike hack pretty quick. Where I got somebody that's throwing 75 to 82, I can be a little bit more free swinger and aim at gaps more. So you educate them, yes, on individually, but at the same time, the counts and the situations are the same no matter who you are.
That's interesting you brought that up. You and I, we've talked about all that. But I say I hunted the fastball. You're right. There are times you go up there, especially when you get in a pro ball and you got so many at bats, you'll get, a couple of weeks where you're just seeing it looks like a beach ball. That old phrase, it looks like a beach ball. That's true. You just find the baseball and hit it. It'd be a first pitch slider, which I did not swing at a lot, but if it's up in that area, bam, attack and hit it. But when you go bad, you lose that rhythm. You're not seeing it as well. My fallback plan was always to go back hunting the fastball. That might not be for the next guy, but that to use your example, my fallback plan was, okay, get back into your base fundamentals. I'm going to look fastball until I get 2 strikes. So that,
and I'll look still today. I teach our guys to look areas and zones. What is your hot zone? What is your strong zone? And it doesn't matter. It could be a fastball. It could be a changeup. It's a curveball. If you like the ball up and you see something up and you can recognize it, go get it. If your barrel head stays in the zone long enough and you can hit the ball in the gaps, then it doesn't matter what what you're saying is true. But at the same time, when things are going good, it doesn't matter what they're throwing at you. If I'm feeling good and my backside staying tall and I'm attacking the inside, then I'm going to hit the ball hard someplace.
Well, I was going to ask if that's one of the tougher things of being a coach, especially a former great player, is that, okay, for me, I always look center in. I don't care if it was a fastball or a changeup or a curveball, it's center in. Somebody else says, I'm just looking for a fastball. I don't care where it is over the plate. I'm looking fastball. Is it tough as a coach to change your philosophy because my way may not work for you?
No, because I don't teach them all the same way anyway. I think part of my success in high school, and a lot of high school guys don't do this, is I treat each one as an individual.
Yeah.
I don't have one hitting philosophy that everybody's got to do this. I don't have one hitting drill. I try to educate them, let them use what they want to use. They're going to come back to me and say, okay, coach, for me to get ready, here's what I need to do today and tomorrow and the next day. And then at the same time, the at-bats are going with it. So I mix it up as much as I can and take each kid, because in high school, I had a third rounder last year that could swing it with anybody. And you left him alone and you let him go. And then I've got my 7, 8, 9 guys that you got to educate. But at the same time, you teach them. If I have to tell you you're doing something, it's too late. Mm-hmm. So you teach them to feel. You teach them, again, how things are going that day. And then you let them go play.
Isn't that just proof that you're a good coach? Because a lot of coaches aren't like that. It's my way or the highway.
I would like, that's not ever been me. Yeah. I would never, I can't function that way.
Yeah.
I think I'm smart enough. And another one of the high school problems is we overcoach.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do the best I can to give you about 10 different options. You pick the 3 or 4 that you like, and what can you do? And then go do it. And you build the confidence. You make sure that kid leaves that day, he wants to come back the next. Mm-hmm. And if it's my way or the highway, it doesn't work in these days. As to how the mechanical, well, neither the mechanical or the mental is going to work. So you got to treat each kid individually.
Mm-hmm.
And then each kid individually, but each day.
Yeah.
They broke up with girlfriend yesterday. Happy-go-lucky James is going to be a little different today. They're sick. So even those days, you got to dial in to how they're feeling.
Well, I was going to say, because you've gone through other things, forget about girlfriend stuff, but in your days at UT, going through arm problems, changing positions, stuff like that happens, that probably influences the way that you treat your players.
Oh, it does. It does. No, nobody's failed more than me. You talk about the successes, and it was neat the way y'all opened everything up, but nobody's failed defensively. I promise you, nobody's failed offensively as much as I did. I think I realized how hard the game is. And then a lot of times as we get older, we think we were better than we really were. Yeah. And I try to stay away from that too. I try not to dwell too much on the past, and it's what have you done lately? David will tell you that we start talking about my past and I'll go to something else as quick as I can. As much fun as that was, I want to know what my golf game was doing yesterday and today, as opposed to my batting average back in 1984 or something. So.
That was very humbly said.
There, yeah, really.
Don't know if it's always.
That's me. I don't wear my rings. I was a guy that didn't wear my leather jacket in high school just because I thought it was bragging.
Yeah.
And so that's just the way I approach it, and I think it's been successful with the kids. I don't cram it down my throat who I am and what I did, and I may let them know, hey, here's what I did. And if I think they're feeling a little bit too arrogant about things, I may get up there and out hit them. Here's how easy it is.
Uh-huh.
I can remember back in the day, David, I don't know if you ever got this or not, but Cliff would show us how to bunt every year. And he wasn't very good. He was bad. But at the same time, he would step in and he would show us, at 50, whatever years old, how to bunt a baseball. And we would say, way to go, coach, and laugh a little bit and move on. So every now and then you can show them, hey, here's how easy it is. But at the same time, I'm not the guy that's going to cram it down here. You're going to do it my way or you're out of here. Because I know there's going to be different ways of doing things.
Is that humble attitude? Is that one of the reasons why you stuck around after 84 and didn't go pro when you got drafted?
Yeah, I don't know why I had it in me. I never had the David Lowery dying Pete Rose attitude that I was going to play in the big leagues. And I was having a good time in college. I had an idea when I got wood in my hand that I wasn't going to last very long. My little short minor league stint, I hit 260 or so. I didn't run well enough anyway. I didn't have a position to play. So I was good at Texas because I had good people around me. And I was fortunate enough that Cliff let me swing a little bit. I always had guys on bags. I was an outfielder that every now and then hit stick in the infield, and that usually didn't go very well. I think Jamie Dowdy and I set a record in '84 for errors on the left side. And I was a left fielder is what I was, but I was athletic enough to come in and play third base every now and then and do okay. My All-American year, I was a third baseman, but it was because of my offense, not because of my defense.
What do you remember about those teams, those ball clubs?
Do what?
As I was going to kind of get into those ball clubs, those guys, you guys are a close-knit group. You and Hutto and Rusty Richards and Ty, all those early to mid-'80s type guys. What do you take from that? I mean, besides the championships and the runners-ups and all the conference title and all that, that lasting relationship, that's a special deal, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, it is. It's I can tell you a lot more about the relationships and the stories that happened back in those days than I can, again, at-bats and batting average and home runs and RBIs and things like that. But I thought everybody was that way. We were close in '82 and '83. And we were close in '84 and '85 when somewhat of a new group came in. I leave there not long after that and go coach a little bit at University of Houston. And thought everybody was going to be like we were, but they weren't. So you don't realize how special it is that something that you've got going on until sometimes you walk away from it and said, wow, how come I can't repeat that with what we're doing here? And it's the chemistry, it's the group, it's the sacrifice, it's the love that you feel for those guys. It's the stupid stuff you go through and the hard stuff you go through and the initiations that you go through. And you realize and you come out the other end that, hey, we can do this and we're going together through thick and thin.
Have any of your high school teams, have you seen that type togetherness and cohesiveness?
Yes, the successful ones, yes. Most of these guys, the successful teams, they've grown up together. Not 85, but in 05, when I won it that first time at Kingwood, those guys that grew up together. We went as juniors, very much overachievers. With this group, with some very average seniors and a good junior class, and get beat early, but we go back as that same group went back as seniors and won it. And they had grown up together. They had grown up beating people like Humboldt, who we beat in the regional finals. And they knew each other. They knew each other's games. By then, they knew me. And yes, this 21, when we won it here at Barbers Hill, we had three guys. Our three best players were as close as anybody could get. They're the kind of guys that at 18 years old, they would spend a night at somebody's house and all three sleep in the same bed. They wore different, each other's clothes all the time. And it wasn't in a funny way. It's just what they did. And that's how tight they were. They would absolutely abuse each other in practice during our BP sessions and our fungo sessions if somebody screwed up, and they loved it. They laughed at each other. They made fun of each other. But it never bothered anybody. So yeah, the cohesiveness, the closeness is evident in the better teams, and that's, I guess, as a coach, that's what you're always trying to create, and it always doesn't work that way, especially in high school when I don't get to recruit.
Is that chicken and egg or egg and chicken? Which does the winning create the cohesiveness, or is it already there and that helps perpetuate the
love? I think the love of the game creates the cohesiveness. I stepped into a situation in '82, my freshman year, where we won our first 35 games in a row. We were getting ready to set a national record. And I think it was Doug Drabeck beat Clemens at U of H. First time we left Dish Falk since we started in January or whatever it was. But we were 35 wins, and all of them at the Dish, and we go to U of H and get beat. But the point being there is it's all the stuff you go through in the fall. It's all the stuff you go through in the cold of January. It's all the stuff you go through after practice with each other that creates, and plus, obviously, you got to be talented, but creates the winning. And then you add up all of that, and here comes it creates the cohesiveness. I apologize. And then here comes the winning after that, if you've got some talent. But yeah, none of this happens without talent. Now, we've overachieved on some teams. I've had some teams that had no business doing what they did because of that cohesiveness. Maybe we shouldn't have won the district championship. Maybe we should have got beaten in the second round instead of the fourth that we made it to. So high school hardball is a little bit different in that you can't always the best coach doesn't always win because he may not have the best players, but he gets the most out of his guys. So the cohesiveness has got to come first, and usually that comes through some grind and time, and then the winning's going to follow. And winning again at the high school level may be not a state championship, but it may be you won 30 games that year, or you won 25 games that year, and we overachieved. And individuals will overachieve. We had a little kid this year that is going to A&M to go to school, but in most cases had no business being on the field, and it ended up being our best hitter, and ended up being a good third baseman. That's just one story of the Johnny Suttons. Johnny replaced me in 1983 because I go down with an elbow injury in the regional tournament. He is, I believe, MVP hadn't played since February. I believe he's the MVP of the regional tournament.
MVP of that regional, I think, yeah.
And then goes 11 for 20 or and he doesn't even play. And then ends up, winning the World Series out in left field. So those are the stories. Those are the overachievers that come through. Just the
do you find that in my little bit of coaching? I was almost felt it was more rewarding for me to have a guy like that I thought would never even play high school or college baseball, overachieved in the first round draft choice. I mean, I was happy for him too, the first round type guy. But the guy that I thought, man, I just don't see it. And for that guy to prove me wrong and to watch him ascend and become a good baseball player, I love that. I love for a guy to prove me wrong.
Because that's for you. I mean, you look at you, Mike. You've seen him before with not a whole lot of clothes on. You look at D. Lowery, and he said, "How could that guy have got it done?" And he did. He was that overachiever.
I was overachiever.
He was an overachiever.
He's going to find a way to go through it, go over it, go around it.
Right.
You try to run these guys off, and they just keep coming back. And those are the guys, in the end, you want to succeed. Like he said, the first rounders and the D1 guys, those are the easy ones.
Yeah.
But in high school baseball, can you get the Johnny Sutton type guys to overachieve? And that's what we did last year. We had guys that went out of their mind for 6 weeks that are working at the golf course right now, that are, they're working at mom's daycare. But during that 6-week period, they were all Americans.
Yeah.
So, and those are the guys that you pull for, because again, the studs are going to remain studs.
What's been the toughest part of your transition into being a coach and being a great coach?
Toughest? I don't know. It's in my opinion, Cliff, I didn't get a whole lot of compliments back in the day, but one of the things he always said was I was one of the few guys back in the 80s anyway that studied it. That studied how to hit and how to approach it. And excuse me, I stayed late and came early and stayed late and swung and swung and swung. Now, should I spend more time on defense? Probably. But so I've always been a coach, whether I was coaching myself. My dad was a coach. My mom was a teacher. I don't think it was ever really that difficult. In high school, dealing with parents is tough to do. And letting them know, especially when you come in new, that there's no politics about it. The best guys are going to play, and here we go. So I don't know that it was a tough transition. It's always been fun. I've never really had a real job, in my opinion, and so I the losses stick with you just like always, and I guess dealing with parents would be the one thing that are dealing with the hard heads that think they know more than you. I think I was that way as a player. No matter who was coaching, in one ear and out the other, because I think I know what I'm doing. Leave me alone.
Even in college?
When I come across those guys, it's all right, idiot, listen to me. I've been there before. I know what I'm doing. So chill a little bit. But, it wasn't a tough transition. It's always been enjoyable. And it's something and Lau can tell you, something I enjoy and doing and talking about and practicing and playing and stuff like that. So,
have you ever had to prove yourself, or have you ever had a player coming up to you during the year, whether it's in preseason or during the season, and say, Coach Denny, I had no idea wow, I just looked you up. Wow. Or my dad told me, wow. I mean, does that happen? And you need that to build credibility sometimes?
No, with the internet, they know. With the internet now, they can Google it up and they can see. So yes, it's instant credibility. I don't have as many parent problems as a lot of people do. One, because of the winning, and the other because they know I've been there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's neat to still hear when somebody will find a picture with I've got hair and I'm about 40 pounds lighter. But it lets them know that when we talk, when I talk, I know what I'm talking about for the most part. Plus, obviously, the state championships help.
Yeah.
So winning at the high school level.
How is the high school game, David? How is the high school, the coaching of it, the player development of it? Because with all the select and all the travel teams, how has that evolved since the time we were all in high? You're a little bit older than me, but we were in high school in the 80s. You were late 70s, 80s. I was in mid 80s. How has that evolved and changed, both good and bad? How's that?
I can tell you where I started. At 16 years old, my one of my assistant coaches in high school played at A&M himself and played in what we called then the beer leagues. We played for Lone Star Beer, and I'm 16 years old, and still the drinking age was, I think it was 18 back in those days, but still I'm way underage. And I learned how to play at that higher level, starting at 16 with guys that had already played at University of Houston, all Southwest Conference guys. I played with guys that had just been released. They're drinking beer in the dugout, not drunk. That was part of their life.
Yeah,
and they could still play. They were smoking cigarettes, and you just. But at the same time, the mental, the fact that they loved to compete, the way they played the game. Again, that's where I was back in 1979 in summer league. I had to go find older guys that would allow me to play with them.
To play up, kind of.
Yeah, because we had our little Connie Mack teams and our Mickey Mantle teams, but they just weren't much around. It wasn't a whole lot of summer baseball going on. Where now you're flooded with it. So I learned to play. Our imagination doing it that way was much better than these guys today, because they're playing select ball now at 8 years old, and you can drive by any Little League park now and you see a 4 and 5 and 6 year old, and he's got a dad right beside him, telling him what to do the whole way.
With a $300 backpack.
With a backpack that mom will carry. He can't even carry it himself. Mom carries it, and that's kind of the way it is today. But the imagination, these guys don't know what to do if you don't tell them what to do. So when we get them, we have to deprogram them for the most part. I have to teach them how to play the game again. I have to teach them how to run bases without looking at a base coach the whole time.
Yeah.
You have to teach them when to tag up without somebody saying, ready, go. Because believe it or not, that's what in the summer league, if you're paying me to coach your son, then you want to hear me yelling and screaming and telling him what to do all the time.
And what they should be doing is someone like you. Yeah.
Exactly backwards of the way it should be. You teach them how to play and you let them go play. But the money that's involved now, like you said, the equipment, we showed up with a glove and a bat, and we were fine. And now you can't go anywhere without a rolling bag and a trunk load full of stuff. But I always tell, when I talk to parents, I'll tell them, you give me a guy that's played baseball and baseball only since he was 8, then you're going to give me a guy that doesn't run real well because he's never been pushed real hard. You're going to give me a guy that doesn't know how to fail because they've never let him fail. If I'm not successful this team, I'm going somewhere else. And you're also going to give me a guy that if he's been knocked down, he has no clue. That failure, he has no clue how to get back up again. And we're getting into ruts with kids, and a lot of them are mentally out of gas too when I get them. So we have to tell parents to go on vacations in July and August. I have to tell kids when to stop playing. Had a kid at Kingwood who was a very good pitcher, all district his sophomore year, goes into the summertime, goes into November, believe it or not, when he should have been stopped. I told him to quit, told mom and dad to quit. Somebody says, hey, let's go to Vegas and play baseball. That's sexy, man. When you're a parent and a kid, I'm going at 15 years old. He goes up to Vegas in November, throws 140 pitches and never throws again. So you have to be very careful. And I try to educate my moms and dads and the kids on you need some time off, because back when, again, we were growing up, you played whatever was in season. And I think a lot of times you were a better baseball player because of it. I think I was a good baseball player because I was a good basketball player. And the two were together. And plus I played football. And kids nowadays don't often do that. So the difference, though, of how it used to be, where you had to go out and hunt it down yourself, as to now, whether it's saturated with the select. It's got its positives because it gets these kids out there, but I don't think there's any better players now than what there used to be. Obviously, they train more. They train year round with what they're doing. They're in the weight room more than we used to be, so that makes them better. But at the same time, the summer leagues now can get in the way a lot of times if you don't know how to handle it.
Did you change as a parent because of being a coach? Did you change as a coach because of being a parent?
I taught mine I think coaching helped maybe. Obviously it did, being a parent, because now you can tell the parents what to do when your kid's in a certain situation because your kid was there. But I think I was already a pretty good coach, and I tried to do the best I could to be a good dad. And I didn't cross the lines with those two. I let Caleb, is my oldest that played, and I taught him just like I did my high school kids to, again, educate at the plate, learn to drag, learn to push, learn to sack, learn to steal bags, and in that sense of the game. So both of them, Dad helped me be a coach, and coaching helped me be a dad too. So plus there's no way you can replace raising a kid, because I was raised on a gym floor. My dad was a basketball coach, and there's no way you can replace that time growing up. Mine grew up on football fields and baseball fields and basketball courts and anything else. Now he's living in the mountains and doesn't want to come home. So you teach them to be independent and how to think for themselves, and sometimes it backfires because you never see them again.
Yeah.
But
I know a coach who always played the first team. He rarely played a backup. He was always, trying to win. Got to play the first string all the time, until he had a daughter who got into high school and played another sport and wasn't very good.
Right.
Third team, finally got to play every once in a while, and suddenly he realized, it's kind of important to let those third teamers play some. Now, I know Caleb was a great player, so you didn't have to worry about that. But I just think it's interesting to see how some coaches change their way of thinking as their kids get older.
Yeah. No, you do. As you become a better parent, I guess, and a more wiser parent, you become a wiser coach. At age period, the mistakes, add up, and you should take those mistakes and do something pretty good with them. Yeah. But I think I've always tried to develop. I keep a big roster. I've always tried to go 25, 26 guys because that's the way I work out. And I want them to all feel a part of it. And we will find ways to get guys in until they screw it up so much that, it's district time. You're not going to get much mound time. So get all your work in the pins and practices. And practices are organized that way too, to where everybody gets a chance. If you don't make it in my program, it's kind of on you, because I don't ever kick anybody out in January and February. We have guys that hadn't played a whole lot in the regular season and get hot in the playoffs and get a chance in the playoffs. So
we talked last year when you were making a run for that second state title at Barbers Hill, and you had to play some game threes in there. And you thought one of the advantages, and a lot of times high school coaches make that mistake, is they didn't develop a three guy, or they put him on the burner once district started and you're only playing 2 games a week, and they didn't get him innings either in inter squads or at some point to keep him fresh. And you thought it was a big advantage for you last year that you had developed a number 3 guy. Go into that a little bit.
It always is. It's in any level, you got to develop a staff, and you want that staff to work even throughout district. There's a lot of guys that put up huge numbers. Friendswood was an example last year. Lake Creek was an example last year. They put up huge numbers in district, and they're still pitching when they're up 10, 11, 12 to nothing on somebody. Well, when does that come to bite you? It comes to bite you in June. and end of May when these guys are tired. And I've always done it that way. That's why I hate one games. We got beaten a 1-game playoff this year, and it wore me out mentally as much as anything. But you work all year to create that staff, and you pump those guys up, and you give those guys chances, and you let them to throw the hitters on workout days and things like that. But
to keep them engaged,
and letting them know that here comes playoff, because we play 3 games in 3 days. We're going to need every one of you.
Yeah,
and
that's what's so odd about high school baseball. After the tournaments, you play twice a week, and then for the playoffs, it gets real again. You're playing 3 times. A lot of times 3 times.
Right.
So
well, we play. My Wednesday workouts are actually, we play Tuesday nights as everybody else does. We'll play Wednesday and work out, and those guys that did not throw Tuesday will throw Wednesday, and then and that's all we do. And then we'll come back, play again on Friday, and sometimes on Saturdays just for an extra game. But we try to create 3 games a week during district, even though it's only true 2 games. That one practice is almost like a game. So come playoff time, we're ready for that 3-game series.
You mentioned the 1-game playoffs in the postseason. I've always thought that's something that they need to get rid of. It just doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem fair the way they decide it. One coach with an ace can get that and go a long way.
Yeah.
Matt Malal, 97.
You're not going to go a long way because you're not going to win that many flips.
Yeah.
But,
unless you're lucky.
Yeah, at our level, at 5A and 6A level anyway, I totally agree with you. The flukes happen when you go 1 game.
Yeah.
And as y'all know, in any big league game, nobody plays 1 game. They're always playing series.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that they have the option, if you lose a flip, again, like I did last year, I'm still telling them a little burned up on that. But you lose that flip, and then you could be done in a hurry.
Yeah.
And Laporte may have beat us in 2 games, but give me that chance. Don't have a little confidence. He had 2 good pitchers, so have confidence in your guys.
Yeah. What's the future for David Denny?
I'm happy right here at Barbers Hill. I'd love to get up and play golf in the hill country west of Austin with my buddy David Lowery, and I will try to get up a time or 2 this summer. But I'm happy doing what I'm doing. I've always said I don't get paid enough to be unhappy. So I will continue doing this. When I get ready to step away, then I won't stop being involved in baseball. But the future is I got a 2-year-old grandbaby, and he's a big part of our future, where we're going to be and things like that. I like the golf course. I'm not very good at it, but I like it. I don't hunt much. I don't fish much. So I don't think I'll ever truly retire. But at the same time, high school is just high school. And at some point, 2, 3, 4 years down the road, I'm almost 60. So, at some point it'll be time for some new blood to step in. But I'm enjoying what I'm doing right now. And like I said, I don't look too far behind me, and I don't look too far ahead of me.
You and I have talked about this several times, but I always thought you would have made a great coach at the University of Texas at the college level. There's no doubt you were fit. You had the game in the mind enough to be at that level, but you chose not to. I know you did some time at University of Houston, at SFA early in your career, but you chose high school. Kind of tell the viewers why you stuck with high school instead of going to that next level. Coaching
the college level, and when I again at U of H, and I had a blast at Stephen F. I was never good at walking into an 18-year-old's house and telling him how good he was and how bad we needed him. So I was not the Frank Anderson that I needed to be. And at the same time, at the end of in the middle of June, I like walking away from it. I'm not good at going out to Joplin, Missouri in July and August and sitting in a stadium and watching a bunch of 14-year-olds play. I talked
and those guys do that.
Yeah, they were headed to Franklin, I think it was, to actually scout 14-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, back in those days, you didn't go after 14-year-olds, but I like to be able to walk away from the game, and I like to go do things. I like to go on trips, and the high school game is much more conducive to being able to, again, walk away. If I want to be gone a month or 2, I can, and not touch a fungo, not touch a ball. Nobody misses me. where, especially today's world, college, it never ends.
It's 365.
Yeah, it is 365, and you've got to enjoy again the grind. And I like walking away and leaving it behind every now and then.
Have you seen and back when we were growing up again? I mean, you had Noblaw in Houston, you had Coach Magel out in Lubbock, and you had some other guys around that were good, but those were the two big names. You had a lot of football coaches. I know we got this at Viter. They might have a little bit of a baseball background, but it was a secondary job. Have you seen more baseball guys getting into the high school level like yourself over the last 20, 25 years?
Everybody now at our level, at the 5A and 6A level, is a baseball guy. They played somewhere. Most of them played somewhere in college. So right. Yes, that of the old football coach, my high school baseball coach would pull up to practice with his bass boat attached to his truck. Right. He was a football coach that he was made to coach baseball.
Right.
So the assistant coach that I talked about earlier that played at A&M that I played with Lone Star with, he was actually the guy that ran most of it. There was even days where we made out lineups in high school. He said, "Here, guys, I don't have time to do this. Y'all make the lineup out. Who do you want to play today?" And things like that. But no, now everybody has a good baseball coach. Most of them have a good program. Some have obstacles thrown at them more than others as far as the freedoms and who can be in a class and who can't if you're a multi-sport guy. But that's just part of what you deal with in high school. That's the biggest negative probably, is having to play second and third fiddle to other programs, especially when you built up. But that's still what it is. But
that's a good Viter segue for me right there, because I got to give a shout out to VJ Bunner with the Dieball Lumberjacks, who are in the regional finals this week, and they start tomorrow night at 7. I'll be watching that. I'll get home from the Texas game. I'm going to watch Dieball. I think they play Franklin. So, David, in saying that, and VJ was a Lamar guy and a Viter guy, grew up with his dad. That's why I bring it up. But I kind of want to segue that into, what do you foresee with the regional finals in 5A and 6A coming out of Region 3 in many of the other areas of the state?
Friendswood won last night. I think Strake and whoever they're playing starts tonight. So obviously Friendswood's favored in 5A, and I don't know much about. I'll be pulling for Raul Garcia Ramon from Strake Jesuit. He's a friend of mine. They got there last year, got beat in the first round, and hopefully he gets to go back again. But I would imagine Friendswood will represent Region 3 in 5A and have as good a chance to win it as any of the other regions. They're pretty good this year again. And like I said, I'll be pulling for Strake. I'm not even sure who they play at 6A level.
David, has Friendswood got a lot of the same kids back, or do they have a new crop of kids this year?
They lost their big stud, but they got a pitcher or two back. The catcher was maybe the best player I saw last year, and he was hurt against us, but he played. But he was a very good player. They got a first sacker that can swing it. They're as good. They lost a big shortstop, the first rounder, but they may be a better team this year. So sometimes when you got the one stud, you can sit back and let him do it, and nobody else wants to step up and help.
And who did you say they have this week?
They are playing Lake Creek.
Okay.
Lake Creek is out of the Magnolia area.
And Strake is playing Ridgepoint.
Ridgepoint, okay.
Yeah.
Barnes is great at that. Of all those playoff, you always have all those playoff stuff.
Not always. Not always. Rockwall and Rockwall Heath is a big one. It's where my parents live, up in the Rockwall area now. And my dad said, "Yeah, Rockwall against Heath."
Well, we lost this year for the first time since 2011. We got knocked out in the first round, and I usually keep my bracket and follow it because you're usually playing. But we got beat in the first round, and I hadn't. I've seen a couple of games. I saw Pearland win against Beaumont Westbrook, which is the Lowery area.
Yeah.
But I have not watched as much as I normally do.
It just turns you off a little losing, doesn't it?
It sucks still. I don't care how long you've been doing it, and especially the way we walked 7 and made 4 errors. You're not going to beat anybody doing that. It's stuff you don't practice all year. But sometimes you roll, and I think we had a little hangover from last year. Sometimes you roll in and you can tell. Again, it's high school kids, so you got to deal with what you got. that they're not really into it. They're already thinking about graduation and
True.
where's prom and am I going to get that new truck? So that's some of the issues I think we dealt with this year. Some of them are already ready for summer ball. We had 6 extra weeks last year and loved every minute of it. And this year it was like, okay, we won our state championship last year. Let's go ahead and start summer early this year. That was, again, just kind of the mentality that you want to try to beat it out of them. You want to try to coach it out of them, but it doesn't always work. And this year, I tried everything I could do. Me and our assistants tried everything we could do to get us going, and we never could.
Well, again,
Denny has that reputation of being California cool, but trust me, a loss bothers him or not succeeding. It bothers him as bad as anyone. Just other of us, we show it more than he does. But he keeps a calm demeanor. But he's still talking about that. Was like 4 weeks ago that he lost that game.
Yeah, no, it was almost it was 5 weeks ago.
Not that he remembers, but
there were several things
to the day.
There were several things that I still hate about that. So.
But again, you've been so successful in the month of June, whether it was in high school and college, and coaching high school. I'm surprised your birthday isn't in June instead of in January, because you were a great baseball player and coach. David Denny, it's been great having you here in the box seats.
Thank y'all very much for having me. I hope somebody will watch this and we did some good with it.
Lots of fans will watch, I'm sure, because they remember you in the good old days.
Yeah.